Hey everyone, how you doing? It's me, Geraldine Convento, and I'm really excited to have a guest today all the way from France, and her name is Johanna. She's a holistic life coach and mind-body practitioner. What we're talking today is being busy. A lot of us are, and there's so many things that come along with that. There are ways and strategy of dealing with that. There's the fact that a lot of people like being busy. It's a big topic, so I'm really excited to dig in today. But before I do, I want to read something that really spoke to me on Joanna's website, and it is that in each and every one of us, we have the power to create the life we want to live. Nevertheless, life throws challenges, obstacles, and issues that can seem confusing and difficult to overcome. The same way a seed needs the right amount of light, water, and nutrients to grow sustainably, with the right tools and support, you can daily, step by step, get rid of stress, limiting beliefs, and build a system that works for you to flourish into your ultimate self. And that being said, welcome, Johanna. How are you?
Thank you very much. I'm really happy to be here with you today and to talk about busyness.
From your perspective, what does it mean to be busy?
Well, it can mean many things, but in the first place, I think in a common sense, it means to be active and to be busy with something is to do something in the end. It can be very positive. It can mean to be carving time and space for fulfilling activities or finding meaning in your work, for example. So it can be in the personal and the professional environment. And when it comes to the professional environment, and especially in our Western culture, is that busy is often connoted to our definition of self-worth or our definition of success. And it can lead, of course, to extended hours and stress and lack of health as well. And it's when as well we try to fulfill external expectations or pressure, right? So I feel it's often connected to performance as well and being productive. Yeah. Even if you are busy and it doesn't mean necessarily that you are productive, you're just there, yeah, for the sake of it. We have this vision of success and the impact it can have on our self-worth as well, because it's really connected to leadership in certain environment, like corporate environments, for example, where we see that the people that are thriving and that are up in the social ladder are always busy, having meetings, being on the computer all the time, being on their phone all the time, and their time is really precious, right? And so for an employee, when you see someone always being busy and always at this upscale in the company, you know, it's like, okay, maybe this is where I want to go and this is what I have to do. So it can send really mixed messages. Busy can be very valuable as well, but when it's connected to your self-worth and a success, that can become somehow an issue. I read actually something that is very interesting, an article where they were talking about internalized capitalism. And it means, and I've seen that as well with my clients, is that people that are active but are working on their own project or are freelancers or entrepreneurs tend to feel guilty when they don't work like the 9 to 5 or 9 to 6. And this is how external pressure and expectation or our external environment, our society, our culture.
Yeah, a lot of inner conflicts come up when being busy. And for others, they really strive to be busy. And I definitely can relate to self-guilt, especially as I was growing my team and I saw everybody else really working. And I felt like I wasn't pulling my weight because I just had too much on my plate. And I think that's really common with entrepreneurs or even, anyone else who's busy, stay-at-home moms or people who live a lifestyle where they carry a lot of responsibility. Let's talk about what's healthy busy versus unhealthy busy.
Healthy busy, I would say, is that when you engage into an activity flow, where you can find playfulness as well in what you are doing, where you can really connect with yourself and it encourages motivation, excitement. You can be really busy working on a project sometimes for like 10 hours, but you don't even feel the stress because it's so invigorating and so engaging. And so, you know why you are doing what you are doing and you find meaning, or to a certain extent, you can even find purpose, right? And you can find that for your own company and as well as an employee when you work for a company that share the same values or that feel respected and heard. You want to put the hours because you know why you are doing it. I think there's this sense as well of being controlled in the busyness when it doesn't affect like your health, that you feel that you can still have a thriving or encouraging social support around you, that you can connect with your friends and that you do actually what you love. And as well, when you could connect rather to the goal than the role. When you know why you are doing it, when you find meaning, when you find purpose, instead of identifying yourself with being busy and defining your self-worth. Okay, I have to work long hours because it means then that I'm a good worker, that I'm a good employee, that you're not trying to compensate, but you're just doing it because you love it. Yeah. And finding that sense is, I think, a very healthy busy, when you thrive, when you're happy at what you're doing.
Yeah, identify with the goal rather than the role. I love that. That's going to be a quote on one of my Instagram posts, and I'm going to tag you. I want to make sure that anyone watching doesn't have the misconception that healthy busy is only when you're happy busy. Because in the process, there's always going to be a moment of time where there is overwhelm and there are things that show up emotionally. Doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, this is bad for me. It just have to look at how it may impact your physical health and anything else. It's not that the whole time you're like, yes, I have this goal and I love what I'm doing. And that's not realistic. There's kind of ups and downs in life.
It's about finding the balance. And of course, it's hard to work for your own project and something that you love. You might have, again, life throwing up obstacles at you, but it's how you respond to those obstacles that is going to help you thrive. And no, life cannot be only seen through pink glasses, although I would love to. Um, but yeah, it's about finding moderation, finding balance, not killing yourself at your job. And on the contrary, because you asked for unhealthy busy, to go through life, I feel like the same way we say it takes a village to raise a kid, I think it takes as well a village to go through life. So you need support, you need people around you, you need connectedness. And it can be in the sense of collaborating as well on project and co-creating together. But when you start like have sleep deprivation or not eating food properly and just eating in front of your computer and feeling the effects of this busyness that can be connected to stress as well, this is when it starts to become an issue. The self-worth identification to the role or the image, this is something that can bring you to disconnect you from who you are by answering to the external environment. And I feel as well that the unhealthy business, sometimes it happens into company that push people to work unflexible hours, in the sense that, okay, you have to work from 9 to 7. And I even found myself in the past in startups, even if I didn't have much to do anymore, I would stay there because I felt like, okay, I cannot leave now, even if it's the time, because it would look bad. And I think as well, unhealthy is when you are busy to compensate for something. In a personal environment, for example, you've done everything that you needed to do in home office. And then you're like, okay, grabbing your phone because you don't want to feel a sense of loneliness, and you go into this human doing instead of human being. You don't leave yourself the space to discover what you actually really want to do. And in order not to feel overwhelmed by emotions that are uncomfortable or feeling, okay, what am I going to do? You grab your phone or you keep on writing emails, checking notifications. Yeah, when there's this sense of compensation and when your health is at stake, I guess this is when busy starts to become a bit unhealthy.
And this leads really well into my next question. How being busy, actually, people use it to help their anxiety?
And I've seen that with a few of my clients as well, that to escape a feeling of loneliness or to escape the fear of something, where indulging into an activity that not necessarily bring them something fulfilling, but indulging in listening to really first impulse and desires, to activate the reward system in our brain, because it's actually really easy. And then it starts to become a habit. Then you indulge in doing that all the time, and you realize all the time that it didn't bring you anything, and you feel that you lost time and you could have done something else, yet you cannot disconnect from this kind of habit or behavior. And I feel that when we do that, we disconnect from ourselves, and we would disconnect as well from the people around us. We focus on one thing that is not even necessarily rewarding, and we see life through this lens. We kill our perception and we just like look in one little hole, and we disconnect from the rest, from the present moment, and from enjoying life and finding playfulness. And it can lead us as well to not accept ourselves the way we are, to avoid this avoidance, right?
Yeah, it can be pretty addicting to be busy. Sometimes we're totally unaware to what's going on outside of us and how the level at which we're being there for our family, for our children, for anyone that relies upon us. Before I came across you, I actually started thinking about the idea of being busy because as someone who owns multiple businesses, there's a lot of responsibilities that I carry. And I noticed that my relationship to being busy is that I would be busy, but I didn't want to say that I was busy. A lot of it had to do with the language that's tied to being busy. Like, I'm just going to read a few examples that I jotted down, which is you're doing too much. Focus on one thing at a time. Oh, I didn't want to bother you because I know that you're busy. Or when people say, oh, leave me alone, I'm busy. Or, oh, sorry, I know you're busy, but this. And there's all of this context that's generated around busyness. If we look at all those statements that I just said, they're all about separation. There's nothing about unity or supporting each other. And I think that's why busy can get a bad rap. I want to share one of my personal stories. I grew up in a family that worked a lot. They worked 9 to 5 job. My mom worked nights. Sometimes they worked multiple jobs. And I decided as a child, wow, everybody's busy around me. They don't really have time to spend with me or each other. I think when I grow up, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. So I went on this path to be an entrepreneur because I wanted personal time and freedom. Of course, that doesn't happen all the time because that's not realistic. When you're running your own business, it happens in spurts. I noticed that when I would talk to people, they would say, oh, what have you been up to? And there's so much, there's so much that I had done. The entrepreneur, you wear so many hats and you're always talking with people, networking. And I'd say, oh, I'm just working. And I never wanted to admit that I was busy because I didn't want them to have that impression that they couldn't connect with me, that I was all over the place or scattered or any of this other language that's associated with that. When I realized that, I was like, oh, wait, what this whole term about being busy and the stigma around it is actually separating me from other people. Like you're saying, it doesn't necessarily have to have a bad rap. You just have to look at it in a way that's useful for you or that's healthy for you. Would you agree?
Yes, I totally agree. And I think that if you're connected to your need, and you shouldn't feel at any point guilty of being busy. And I think being able to communicate about it in a free way is paramount. There shouldn't be any stigma of being busy or not being busy. This freedom is about being okay with what you do. First, there would be self-awareness, and then acceptance, and then thriving for you. You cannot know where you're going if you don't already accept where you are and where you're coming from. Thank you very much for sharing the story. I think it's a very interesting perspective.
You're welcome. One thing I like to preach about is that it's really important for everyone to know what's important to them. What are their personal values? Because that can often, I know for myself it can often dictate where you're going to put your time.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's a game changer, in my opinion. It's more accessible, I feel like, when people have coaches and come across others that really focus their life on that. But I don't feel like it's widely talked about. Out of curiosity, when you work with your clients, is that something that you see as a disconnect sometimes?
Yeah, definitely. It's very difficult to know why you're doing the things you do. And working with personal values is definitely something that I use a lot because, as you said, it's a guidance for life. For example, one of my values is freedom. And it's not just the freedom to do what I want when I want, but it's the freedom to be authentic, be myself, and be okay with who I am. And what is very interesting as well is that different values have different meaning. I mean, the same value can have a very different meaning for everyone because it's ingrained with your past experience, with your personality, with the people that you have around you. And once you can grasp what is your understanding of your main value, then you can try to instigate more of that value in your life to make it more meaningful. It can be in the most little things, for example, freedom could be when you go buy a pair of shoes, it's having the freedom to be myself. And maybe the shoes that I'm going to pick are going to be super, but maybe that's a way to express my freedom and to express my authenticity. So if anyone on their terms, when they define their values, could know how to instigate more of that in their life, already they could find a sense more of self-confidence, of self-worth, because there is a sense of achievement that is connected to it when you're able to do something for yourself and reconnect with yourself.
What tips can you offer to others from your perspective of really developing a life of fulfillment for themselves?
What I really encourage is, there's so much noise around us of what we should think or what we should be doing. And what I really encourage people is to tune in and to try and find how to reduce this noise of this external environment and regarding to expectation and what one should do, and really try to understand who I am, because I think this is where self-liberations come from. Do the inner work. And it's not easy. It's really not easy. But if you feel like seeing some change in your life, it starts with your mind and trying to understand what are the thoughts you are going through, what are the emotions you are feeling, why are you feeling this way, where does it come from, and do more of the things you love and being surrounded with the people you love and make you feel good as well. It doesn't mean that you cannot have uncomfortable conversation, because I think that brings a lot of clarity as well on who we are and how we connect with others. And what I advise as well is to practice mindfulness, in the sense of mindfulness is not just meditation, but it's being aware of what you are, what you feel, how you think. And I often say to my clients, starts from where you are. So when it comes to being busy, for example, for active people or for people who have their own project, is do with what you have. If your health today is like a 2 out of 10, do with it. Don't push it, right? Do with what you have, and maybe tomorrow you will feel better. And same with health goals. There's a lot of health goals where, oh, you have to be journaling, you have to be meditating, you have to be working out. Well, you don't have to, but if you feel that it's something that is good for you, then do it, but don't put pressure on it. Again, if you feel that your health is 3 out of 10, instead of saying, okay, I have to run 1 hour, maybe today you just walk around the block for half an hour and that's enough. So starting from where you are is a principle that I found really, really helpful to accept ourselves and to connect better with ourselves.
Well, Johanna, thanks so much for joining me in this conversation today. I know that it's going to support so many people out there who are struggling with busyness and trying to figure their life out. We'll drop all of Johanna's links in the description. So if you'd like to work with Johanna as your life coach or mind-body practitioner, she's absolutely available. She has programs that's available for people to participate in as well, and an awesome IG feed. I love what you post on IG. There's just so much great information there. So keep doing what you're doing. And thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me there. It was a very fruitful, interesting conversation, for sharing your stories. And yes, I hope it will help people. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.